USA, since Charlie was killed, just so you guys know, this is a fact, has made more than $100 million. That is separate from the $40 million they made at Mar-a-Lago.
I think we're at like over 200,000 for merch sales. Don't quote me on that because I think it just keeps like bumping up like.
So this situation just escalated in a way nobody saw coming. Candace Owens isn't hinting anymore. She's openly accusing Erika of running what she describes as a calculated merch operation inside her own TPUSA circle. According to Candace, it wasn't just enthusiastic fundraising. It was allegedly a fake hustle that brought in serious money. And this time, she says she's not speaking in generalities. She claims she has receipts. What really set this off is an audio recording that's now circulating across social media at lightning speed. Candace says the clip captures Erika laughing with her team, celebrating how strong the merch sales were performing. On its own, the audio doesn't sound dramatic. It sounds like a leader excited about numbers. But the controversy isn't just about tone, it's about timing.
Picture of her kids holding her husband's book. Then a video comes out and she's giggling 2 weeks after he passed, and she's talking about merchandise sales. I mean, she could have done the Jackie Kennedy.
Candace is alleging that this conversation took place during a private team meeting just days after Charlie passed away. And once that detail started spreading online, the reaction shifted instantly. What might have sounded like normal workplace energy began, in the eyes of critics, to feel uncomfortable given the moment it allegedly happened. The internet locked onto that timeline and hasn't let go since. And then things intensified even further. Reports circulating online suggest Candace isn't standing alone in this anymore. She's reportedly aligning with Charlie Kirk's sister, which immediately changed the temperature of the entire conversation. When family members become part of the public discussion, it stops feeling like influencer drama and starts feeling personal. That's when people began repeating one phrase over and over, that this was no longer an outside attack, but something coming from within.
Turning Point USA cult members are furious that Erika Kirk has been called a grifter, yet this audio seems to point to just that.
To be clear, the audio clip by itself does not confirm wrongdoing. Heard in isolation, it sounds like a boss praising her team for strong sales and momentum, something that happens in companies every day. But critics argue context is everything. When you place that recording alongside the timing of Charlie's death, the rapid merch rollout, and the ongoing online questions about financial transparency, the same clip starts to carry a different weight.
Erika Kirk calling Charlie Kirk's funeral the event of the century in the new leaked audio that Candace Owens posted is crazy.
Now, the focus isn't just on what was said, it's on when it was said, and what people believe may have been happening behind the scenes at the time. That's why the discussion hasn't cooled down. Every repost brings new commentary. Every breakdown sparks new speculation. And with Candace framing this as part of a much larger pattern, the pressure around Erika isn't fading, it's building. Candace isn't presenting this as a one-off mistake or bad timing. She's framing it as something bigger, what she describes as a pattern. In her telling, this isn't about a single clip or one awkward moment. It's about behavior that, she argues, has been building for a while. And whether people agree with her or not, the narrative she's pushing is pulling more and more eyes into the story. Because once that video surfaced, the temperature changed. In the footage, Erika appears upbeat, smiling, energized, talking about how strong the merch numbers were. On its own, it looks like a leader celebrating momentum. But for many viewers, the emotional contrast felt jarring.
I don't even know where to begin. The fact that we were able to pull off an event of a century, like it's just insane.
The clip spread fast. TikTok filled up with stitches, slowdowns, frame-by-frame breakdowns. Comment sections lit up with one recurring question. Why did the tone feel so focused on sales during such a heavy moment? The timeline became the center of gravity. Critics online argued that the energy seemed business-driven at a time they believed should have been reflective. Supporters pushed back, saying people were projecting intent onto a short clip, but once social media latches onto a narrative built around timing and tone, it rarely lets go. As the backlash grew, Erika's defenders showed up quickly. They insisted the footage was being taken out of context. They argued that celebrating team performance doesn't automatically equal insensitivity, and that point resonated with some viewers. But even as that defense circulated, another question kept gaining traction online. Was this part of a broader focus on revenue that critics had been pointing out for months?
And you have, is it 100 million? I think we're at like over 200,000 for merch sales. Don't quote me on that because I think it just keeps like bumping up like crazy. But
that idea began spreading rapidly, especially across Twitter, where users started revisiting older clips, past interviews, and public appearances. People began compiling timelines. They pulled quotes. They highlighted moments they felt now looked different in hindsight. To some observers, those resurfaced clips suggested consistency, not necessarily wrongdoing, but a clear emphasis on growth, sales, and expansion. To Candace, that consistency is the story. She's long argued that Erika leaned heavily into monetizing the TPUSA base, and in her view, this viral video didn't introduce a new accusation. It reinforced what she claims she's been warning about all along. And that's why the debate isn't slowing down. It's not just about a smile in a meeting anymore. It's about perception, priorities, and whether the public is seeing ambition or something more calculated.
The podcaster Candace Owens, okay? At one time, a friend of Charlie's, at one time, an employee of Turning Point. She has been one of the main peddlers of these conspiracies, and she is making a huge amount of money on it. She is building her business off of these lies. What do you want to say to her and the other people that are putting these lies out into the world right now?
Stop. That's it. That's all I have to say. Stop.
Candace now says she saw this trajectory forming long before the audio clip ever leaked. In her view, the warning signs were there. It just took time for the wider public to notice. One of the first moments she points to is how quickly Erika stepped into Charlie's former role as Turning Point USA's chief executive after his death. According to Candace, that transition felt immediate, and to critics watching closely, it raised questions about timing and optics. Some commentators argue that the speed of that leadership shift made scrutiny difficult. Challenging decisions in that moment risked looking insensitive. Who wants to question someone publicly navigating grief? Candace has framed that dynamic as strategically powerful, suggesting the emotional climate created a shield around major decisions. That claim has been heavily debated online ever since.
I think the mistake they made, and I've said on my podcast, she should have never become the CEO and chairman overnight. Because now, when people have questions, you got to answer them, right? You're not just a grieving widow, but you very quickly decided that you were equipped to be Charlie. Well, guess what? That's going to be a trial by fire. Charlie had to go through it. It's painful. And so people are feeling like, hey, it's not fair to ask her any questions because her husband just died.
From Candace's perspective, the public shift was rapid. She describes what others have labeled a grief tour, a series of appearances, interviews, and speaking engagements centered on loss, legacy, and mission. Erika remained visible, booked, and active. Supporters saw strength and resilience. Critics saw momentum that didn't slow down. Then came the book release, marketed as Charlie's final work, positioned as emotional, meaningful, and symbolic for supporters. The messaging encouraged fans to view purchasing it not just as buying a product, but as honoring a legacy. Many supporters embraced that framing wholeheartedly. Candace, however, has argued that the rollout felt highly strategic, more brand expansion than memorial tribute. In her telling, it reflected what she sees as a growing overlap between grief and business. She also claims the merchandise operations never paused. According to Candace, the infrastructure behind the scenes remained active and aggressive. When she says she began learning more about how the system allegedly functioned internally, she escalated publicly. She didn't hint, she accused. But this didn't unfold in silence. Erika pushed back. She addressed the criticism, warned against what she described as misinformation, and made it clear she wasn't backing down. And that's when the conflict shifted from online speculation to a direct public clash between two powerful voices, each claiming to be telling the real story. Erika didn't stay silent while all of this was building. She went on record multiple times, warning Candace to stop attaching her name and TPUSA to what she described as reckless narratives. She accused Candace of amplifying claims for attention and profit, and according to public exchanges, made it clear she expected the attacks to stop. But if anything, that confrontation escalated the situation. Candace didn't retreat. She doubled down, arguing that the entire controversy pointed to something she believed started from day one. In her framing, this was never about misunderstanding. It was about monetization tied too closely to tragedy. That's when Candace released what she called a full breakdown of the merch structure. She claimed merchandise wasn't a side element, it was central. During tours and public appearances, she alleges products were consistently highlighted alongside the message. Supporters argue that fundraising and brand visibility are standard for organizations of that scale. Critics argue the emphasis felt disproportionate given the circumstances. Then came the numbers, figures that quickly became the focal point of online debate. Candace publicly alleged that TPUSA generated over $100 million in merchandise revenue. She further claimed that an additional $40 million was reportedly raised during a high-profile black tie gala at Mar-a-Lago in December of last year.
Point USA, since Charlie was killed, just so you guys know, this is a fact, has made more than $100 million. That is separate from the $40 million they made at Mar-a-Lago the other night. So since Charlie has died, that organization has taken in $140 million. But gosh darn you people that are making hundreds of dollars every day on YouTube.
Those figures, circulating widely on social platforms, sparked intense discussion. Posts began dissecting the math. Some reports suggested ticket prices for the gala reached up to $10,000 per plate, with a large guest list in attendance. Supporters described it as a major fundraising success. Critics questioned scale, timing, and allocation. As those revenue estimates spread, the conversation shifted. What had started as commentary about tone and optics began turning into scrutiny over financial transparency. Social media users began asking where funds were directed, how they were structured, and whether reporting would clarify the numbers being cited. Candace framed the totals as evidence of what she sees as a broader priority: expansion and aggressive growth. Others countered that large organizations often operate at that scale, and that revenue alone does not imply misconduct. Still, once financial figures enter public debate, they tend to dominate it. And then another timeline detail intensified the scrutiny. According to circulating reports, a new memorial shirt appeared on the organization's website one day after Charlie's passing, featuring his image and the biblical verse, "Here I am, Lord, send me," Isaiah 6, verse 8. For some supporters, it was a tribute. For critics, the speed felt abrupt. The reaction online was immediate and divided. Within the following week, additional designs reportedly launched, multiple shirts portraying Charlie in heroic imagery. They sold quickly, according to public claims, which only fueled the ongoing argument. Supporters saw strong demand from a grieving base wanting to honor his legacy. Critics saw momentum that, in their view, moved unusually fast. At that point, the debate wasn't slowing down, it was accelerating. And now it wasn't just about optics. It was about timing, scale, and whether the pace of monetization matched the emotional weight of the moment. And just when people thought the financial conversation had peaked, another layer entered the discussion. Shortly after, Erika launched a GoFundMe campaign. According to multiple reports circulating online, that fundraiser allegedly brought in more than $6 million from supporters. For many, that number became a turning point. The public mood, at least in certain corners of the internet, began shifting from sympathy to scrutiny. Candace repeatedly asked the same question across interviews and posts: if everything is above board, where exactly is the money going? With merchandise reportedly generating massive revenue, high-profile events bringing in additional funds, and now multi-million-dollar donations added to the mix, she argued that transparency should be expected, not optional. To this point, Erika has not publicly addressed every specific financial claim being debated online. After the viral merch video resurfaced, critics expected a direct clarification. When none came immediately, that absence became part of the narrative itself. Supporters say silence can be strategic or legally advised. Critics say it looks evasive, and perception matters. Observers pointed out that Erika has historically responded quickly to criticism, so when the topic turned to money and no immediate rebuttal followed, it intensified speculation. The longer the quiet lasted, the louder the online commentary became.
I lived out here. I was here for 5 years. I never dated here because I saw vicariously through my roommate how terrible it was. Somehow getting drinks was the replacement of having coffee and breakfast. I personally would rather have coffee or brunch with someone than going, I don't drink. I find it.
What began as emotional debate started morphing into trust questions. Longtime supporters began publicly asking whether the organization they believed in still operated the same way. Confidence, at least in some online communities, appeared to waver, not universally, but noticeably. As the controversy expanded week by week, the situation took another turn. Reports began circulating that Charlie's sister Mary had stepped into the conversation, and when family members enter a public dispute involving money, leadership, and legacy, the tone inevitably changes. It no longer feels like commentary between rivals. It feels closer to an internal fracture. And that's when many observers said this story stopped being just social media drama and started looking like something far more consequential. That's the point where a lot of observers said this stopped feeling like ordinary online drama. Once family members entered the picture and financial questions escalated, the conversation shifted from commentary to confrontation. Critics began arguing that with this level of revenue reportedly coming in, a visible slowdown might have been expected. Time to grieve privately, recalibrate, step back. Instead, they claim the pace never changed. Public appearances continued, merch continued, fundraising continued. Supporters frame that as resilience and commitment to mission. Critics frame it as momentum that never paused. And that tension, grief alongside aggressive growth, is what keeps fueling the debate. According to unnamed sources cited in online discussions, Erika has no intention of stepping back. Some commentators claim she recognized how energized and financially committed the supporter base remained and that the operational machine stayed active by design. Those are allegations, not proven conclusions, but they've gained traction in certain circles. For longtime supporters who were deeply connected to Charlie personally, the emotional layer runs even deeper. Some have publicly expressed feeling conflicted. Others have defended Erika just as strongly. But this is where Mary reportedly decided to speak more forcefully. According to public statements attributed to her, she felt there were too many unanswered questions surrounding financial transparency. She allegedly suggested that under Erika's leadership, the organization was not being fully clear about incoming funds and internal accounting. That accusation alone reignited the controversy in a major way. Then the situation escalated further. Reports began circulating that an independent investigator had reviewed aspects of TPUSA's financial documentation. According to online claims, that review allegedly flagged irregularities, including missing tax filings and incomplete audit records. One detail in particular drew attention. Some of those documents were reportedly absent from public access months before Charlie's passing. It's important to note that these claims are based on reports and circulating commentary, not confirmed legal findings. But once the idea of missing financial records entered the conversation, the tone intensified dramatically. Because at that point, the debate wasn't just about optics or messaging anymore. It became about paperwork, audits, timelines, and whether something significant had been overlooked, hidden, or simply mishandled. And when allegations move from tone to accounting, the stakes change completely. What made the timeline even more explosive is how closely it appears to align with Erika taking on a larger operational role inside the organization. Commentators familiar with the internal dynamics have claimed that even before his death, Charlie had started asking deeper questions about finances. According to those accounts, he allegedly felt something wasn't fully clear and began the process of bringing in outside professionals to conduct a more thorough audit of TPUSA's books. If accurate, that move suggested he wanted tighter structure and clearer accountability. But here's where the story turns heavy. Charlie never reportedly saw the results of that deeper review. Before any findings were publicly discussed, his life was tragically cut short. And according to statements attributed to Mary, once new leadership consolidated control, that audit process allegedly disappeared. She has suggested the review was halted, sidelined, or quietly erased from visibility. Sources close to the family claim that's when her concerns solidified. From her perspective, this wasn't just administrative confusion. She has publicly implied that the pattern looked intentional. not chaotic. In her view, the missing documents, the paused audit, and the silence surrounding internal reviews pointed toward consolidation of control rather than transparency. Those are serious allegations and they remain contested, but once Mary began voicing them openly, the tone of the public conversation shifted dramatically. It no longer felt like rivalry between commentators. It felt like a dispute involving legacy, money, and internal governance. The debate moved from social media clips to audit trails, from tone to paperwork, from optics to accounting. And then another allegation surfaced that intensified everything even further. According to circulating reports, Erika allegedly recreated the tent associated with the location of Charlie's shooting during a public event attended by thousands. Critics claim attendees were charged to enter and take photos inside the recreated structure. Supporters dispute aspects of that characterization. But the allegation itself, tying monetization to a reconstructed scene connected to tragedy, triggered one of the strongest waves of backlash yet. For some observers, that moment symbolized everything critics had been arguing about, the perceived blending of grief, branding, and revenue. For others, it was yet another example of narrative being shaped in the harshest possible light. Either way, once that claim began spreading, even previously neutral voices started paying closer attention. At that point, the pressure surrounding Erika wasn't just building. It was reaching a level where every new detail, verified or not, was being examined under a microscope. And the story, instead of stabilizing, seemed to be unraveling in real time. For members of Charlie's family, that alleged tent incident was described as a breaking point. Sources close to them have said they were stunned by how it appeared. From their perspective, something deeply tragic was, in their view, being turned into a public spectacle. Critics framed it as monetization tied too closely to loss. Supporters argue the characterization has been exaggerated, but emotionally, the reaction from those closest to Charlie was intense. According to people familiar with their thinking, it wasn't just about optics. It felt personal. They reportedly questioned whether compassion had been overshadowed by expansion and revenue. Those are powerful claims, and they've added fuel to an already volatile situation. Meanwhile, Erika has remained largely silent as the online debate escalated. No detailed breakdown, no extended rebuttal addressing every financial allegation. Supporters suggest legal strategy or internal review could explain the quiet. Critics interpret the silence differently, arguing that in moments like this, transparency should be immediate. But what changed the dynamic wasn't random commentators. It was Mary stepping forward and publicly stating that, in her view, the numbers don't add up. When a family member questions financial clarity, the tone inevitably shifts. It stops sounding like internet sparring and starts feeling like internal fracture. Now, the conversation isn't just about a viral clip or merchandise launches, it's about timelines, audits, leadership transitions, and whether key details were overlooked or intentionally withheld. And once that level of scrutiny begins, it rarely reverses quietly. So the real question being debated right now is this: was this a case of grief colliding with business decisions in messy, imperfect ways? Or was there a calculated strategy behind the speed, the scaling, and the silence? Because if financial records are eventually forced fully into public view, this story won't stay confined to social media commentary. It will move into a different arena entirely. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you see resilience and mission-driven momentum? Or do you think the criticism deserves deeper investigation? Drop your thoughts below. If this breakdown helped you understand how all these pieces connect, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. This situation is still developing, and if more documents, statements, or responses surface, the next chapter could shift everything again.